The beauty and also the curse is that your body doesn't just change. Perimenopause also lowers your tolerance. Have you ever had a season when your body started doing things for no reason? For me, it happened somewhere in my mid 40s. I started waking up in the middle of the night, covered in sweat. Then came the crying spells. Then the multiple rounds of hide and go seek with my period. And I wonder if you've had a season like this, when your body started changing the rules without your permission. I remember asking myself, what is happening to my body and who do I need to call to make it stop? Eventually, I discovered from, of course, Google University that there was a name for what I was experiencing. But none of the women in my family had ever mentioned this name to me or friends. It was perimenopause. Growing up, I had learned that our cycles would eventually end, and Mother Nature would, sure enough, pass the baton to a new warden who was ready to douse us with hot flashes. But nobody ever told me about the years leading up to it. The emotional outbursts when your lady parts become like a desert and a full night's sleep is a pipe dream. For most of our lives, we're taught to override our bodies, to push through exhaustion, ignore our intuition, sacrifice to our detriment. But this phase of life changes all of that. Because once your body is experiencing so many changes, you can't tolerate anything that drains you. And despite what my body was going through, there were also a lot of gifts in this phase of life. The first gift of perimenopause is that it has really taught me, or forced me rather, to take better care of my body. Because the deeper I get into this phase, my body can't tolerate certain foods. Like processed foods is my body's arch enemy. My beloved margaritas trigger my hot flashes. And caffeine sends me into an emotional tailspin. So I've had to cut back on these. And not because I'm on some crazy diet, but because my body simply won't tolerate them anymore. And I really hadn't realized how much of what we eat affects our bodies. And not only weight gain, but also our energy levels, our mental health. I used to have the occasional glass of wine, maybe 1 or 2 nights a week after work to unwind after a long day. And I would wake up feeling like there was a large animal sitting on my chest. So I had to cut that out. And so now, instead of doing the glass of wine, I'll have a protein shake or a glass of water. And so when I wake up in the mornings, I have the energy to work towards building this beautiful life that I want to build for myself. And then there was another shift that I didn't see coming. Perimenopause has really forced me to speak up for myself. A few months ago, I had a situation with a neighbor where they kept parking over in my parking spot. And I remember having this conversation with my mom and telling her about it. And she says to me, I wish it didn't bother you so much. And I was so irritated when she said that. And then I thought to myself, a few years ago, it might not have. I would have brushed it off. I would have stayed quiet just to get along. But the more my body rebels, the less willing I am to stay silent, just to wear the nice girl label. And maybe the most surprising gift that I have received from perimenopause is the fact that I'm very sensitive to other people's energies. So I'm a lot more careful about who I allow into my life. I've gone on dates with men who looked good on paper. They had good jobs. They were perfect gentlemen. But for some reason, something in my body just didn't mesh well with them. It felt off. And I would find out a few weeks later that either they had another relationship they forgot to tell me about, or they were just emotionally unavailable. It's almost as if my body could sense what was going on before they even opened their mouths. And once you start paying attention to how your body feels around certain people, it becomes impossible to ignore. And I've heard from so many men, even women, that perimenopause makes women moody and difficult. But for me, honestly, there are some things that are a little uncomfortable, but it has really been a gift to me in terms of helping me create and build a better life for myself, because I'm more careful about my energy. I'm eating better. I'm healthier because my body just won't tolerate anything less from me. Perimenopause has changed how I treat my body, what foods I give it, how I work, what I tolerate at work, and who I allow into my life. And perimenopause has turned out to be the gift I didn't know I needed. And when I finally started listening to my body and my intuition, my body stopped screaming at me and my symptoms began to ease. So if you're struggling with hormonal changes of any kind, I encourage you to really pay attention to what's happening prior to the hot flashes, prior to the emotional outbursts. Is it at work? Is it after you've had a conversation with a friend or family member, or even with your romantic partner? All those signs are telling you something. And the more you listen to your body, the more you learn your body's rhythms and how to work with it rather than against it. But perimenopause isn't just about managing your symptoms. It's about learning to trust your body. And for many of us, especially as women, this is a long overdue lesson. So consider perimenopause to be your permission slip, to love yourself deeper, to live with more joy, to reveal the truths that you've been holding in.